test on Monday. It's not like the minute we walk in. So bring questions if you have it. Now, if you come in and say, I don't really understand percents at all, like probably a little late. So that would be a good opportunity. You could hang around today if you wanted to. I had students asking if they just wanted to stay and meet with a teacher for a little bit. Just know that teachers still like their lunches built in, but then I would think if you want to stay, then I mean, you can kind of come and go as you please, I think. Or we can always make sure we get you where you need to be and send you on your way. And it depends on the class, but like if you wanted to stay here to get some help or something, you're welcome to. I don't want to turn you away. So these examples, I wanted to kind of convert back and forth between fractions, decimals, percents, depending on what I gave you. So the first one, I started by giving you a decimal. We're going to change that to a percent. We're going to change it to a fraction. The fraction should be simplest form. So it should say that, but. So, which way do you guys want to go first, the decimal? Change it to a what? Fraction. So you made it 4 what? 4 over 10, which as a decimal then, or as a simplified fraction would be 2/5. Remember, you put it over that decimal place. Some of you guys, you use a calculator to convert that, that's fine. 2 over 5. And then to a percent, remember to go this way, we do what?
2 to the right.
To the right. So this becomes 40%. So 2 decimals to the right for percent. And make sure if it's a percentage, you do write it's a percent, like so write the percent symbol, and if it's not, don't write a percent. All right, the next one asks us to do a fraction to a decimal. So for that, I typically just divide the two. So I'm dividing 13 by 8. Decimal, we'll probably round it like 2 or 3 decimal places. So this one I can kind of be exact, so I divided 13 by 8. I got 1.625. And that makes sense because it's over 1, like because 8 can go into 13. And then again, if I go this way, I'm moving the decimal 2 times to the right. 162.5. And then going from a percentage back to a decimal, back to a fraction. Now, this one, if I move it to the right going this way I'm moving it to the left 2 places. So 6 becomes 0.6 or 0.6, or sorry, 0.06, sorry, I said that wrong. I like putting a 0 on the other side just so you don't think that's just like a random dot like hanging out on my paper, or maybe that helps that or whatever. Now this is in the hundredths place, so this is 6 hundredths, which becomes 3 50ths, I believe. And I don't think that simplifies anymore. Great. Questions there at all? So be able to make those conversions back and forth. Oops, do I have any more down there? All right, so now we're doing some percent problems. Did I break? I meant to leave a space for you to write the percent proportion. Oh, what's the matter? So, one of the things I would suggest, memorizing, knowing is that is over of equals a percent over 100. This is not something I would give to you. This is something you should know and be comfortable with if you use it. If you don't use it, that's okay as well. Just know though that that would be the proportion I would suggest you use to kind of make sure you get in the right spot. That should be a percent over 100. So that allows us to do the next 3 problems. It helps us to set up what goes where, what I'm looking for, what I'm trying to find, what I already know. So breaking this down, if I have my, and again I'll write it again just because it's not in front of me right now. Anytime you see the percent, that always goes over 100. So the 15 goes over 100. The 61 would go over 100. So if I want 15% of 120, this is another place where estimates are really super helpful, that I know 15% of 120 is like a small chunk of 120. That I'm not expecting to have some answer over 100, like it's definitely under half, kind of using some reasoning with that.
So less than a quarter.
Yeah, so less than a quarter is a good point.
You want to be under 30.
Yeah, that's really good, yeah. So kind of using some of your estimation skills that you end up realizing if you're kind of in the right ballpark. Now again, you do not have to set it up this way, however, if you're struggling at all or this isn't going very well for you, I'd suggest it. Or if it hasn't been, or if you get answers wrong regularly, maybe the day of the test, that's time that you could use this formula, practice it so we end up with 18 for our answer here. So 18 is 15% of 120. So if you are out with friends for homecoming, your bill comes to $120 because it's a bunch of you. You want to leave a tip, at least an $18 tip there on that.
No, I was round up to 20.
And if you don't want a tip, then you shouldn't go to a restaurant that has waitresses and waiters. Go to Taco Bell. So,
Or just go to any other country in the world.
because they include that right in their, I think waitresses and waiters get paid like a normal wage, like at other countries. All right, so the is now this time is the number on top of 30. That's the number on the bottom. They want to know what percent. If you think about this as a test score, if you got 29 out of 30 on a test, I hope you'd realize, well, that's a pretty good test score. The percent I don't know. So I don't know the over 100 part. Now this might be one you said, well, I just divide those, and that's fine. I'm not saying you have to do it this way. Again, this is just the way that I suggest in case you're struggling at all with it, or just want to make sure you have everything set up right. So you got like a 96, 97% on the test if we round to the nearest percent. Yeah, so if I said round to the nearest percent, you'd round up, but I would tell you on the test what I want you guys to round to. Probably a decimal point or two. The last one is the one that I always think is the weirdest order. It says 80 is 61% of what number? So we know the answer, like we know what it is. We're trying to find the of. So 80 is, that's going to go on top. The 61 is on top as well because that's our percentage. So we're looking for the of. And it's okay to not get whole numbers, like doesn't mean you're wrong. A lot of times decimal, percents are not whole numbers, so we get, and again, this is over half, so we get 131.1. So 61 out of 131-ish, or sorry, 80 out of 131 is about 61%. Okay. There are going to be a chunk of word problems on this test. So making sure you do show me some work on your word problems, especially with word problems. If you just write an answer, it's really hard to know what you did unless you're super close to the actual answer. So I ask that you do show me some steps, kind of show me what you're thinking, show me what you're putting in your calculator. Said company offered 11% discount on all sales. Find the final cost for an item that was listed for $449.99. This is, Menards has this where you put stuff in, if it fits in the bag, you get 11% off. I don't know why they do that, but it's like a paper bag that they use. So we're taking an 11% discount on this item. Discount means I'm going to take that off the price, right? So I need to figure out what 11% is, and then I'm going to take that off. So I'm doing 11% of 449.99. So 11 over 100. Whoops, I did that wrong. And we're going to figure out the discount. And maybe on the test I might ask you what the discount is, so just be prepared to kind of answer that if that's the case. So if I wanted to know the discount, I would cross multiply, set equal, and I get 49.50 essentially if I'm rounding.
So multiply 400.
So I'm going to take that off of this, so I have to subtract. So on the test, I would ask that you guys show me some of these numbers, like the numbers you're working with, so I know what you're up to. And we're left with, it'd be $400.49. Now, one of the things I do want to point out is last class we talked about increase and decrease, percent increase and decrease. Do you guys recall that we also used the idea that we could take, we could take this 11 off the 100 already? 100 minus 11 would be 89. What I can also do is take 89% of this number, and that would give me this. So you can use that rule that we learned last class, that you can figure out that percentage, that I'm paying 89% of the original cost. So just that you guys know that's also an opportunity that you can do that. Okay? All right, so the sales tax is 4%. Find the amount of total sales if the sales tax is $18. This is kind of a weird question. So they're telling us what the sales tax is.
18% of
And we're trying to figure out, like, basically what the original item is and what the final cost is. So there's kind of a lot going on here. So 4% of, we don't know the number. So we found the sales tax, or we are given the sales tax. 4% of what number is 18? So kind of understanding that we have the answer, we have the sales tax this time. So this time I'm going to put the 18 on top. And I'm going to figure out what that original value is. I'm figuring out what 18 is 4% of. So that's $450. Now is that going to be the total amount I pay? No, that was the price of the original item. So yeah, this is the sales tax, so we have to put those two together. So it ends up being $468 for the total cost. We found the sales tax, we knew the sales tax, we found the original amount, and then we found out what the final was.
This next one is one I've always
This one's not a good one. Okay. So it says this year's attendance to the dance was 200 students. If the attendance was 13% more than last year's dance, find the attendance to last year's dance. So 13% more than last year's dance. So that's an increase, right? So an increase, we can think about it using the 100 plus 13, right? Percent. This year's attendance, so the 200 students, is 13% more than last year's. So 200 is 13% more than last year's, wait, sorry, am I saying that right? 200 is 13% of what number? 113% of what number, right? So 200 is 113% of what number? Our attendance this year is going to be 113% of what the previous year was. So the 200 is going to go on top. We're trying to find the previous year. Now, one of the ways Clayton said he struggles with setting these up. This might be one it's worth setting up this way because the 113 is bigger than the 100. That means this number should be bigger and this year's attendance is more than last year. That kind of helps you to know to put it on top. Because it's over 100, that means it's over, this is going to be the bigger of the two numbers and this is a true proportion.
So you multiply 200 by 11 and divide 100 by 5.
Yeah,
Okay.
200 by, I thought you said 11.
No, we multiply 200 by 100.
Mhm.
Divide that number by.
Yeah.
Okay.
And all else fails as well, be a little logical about this. Again, with estimates, that if I get an answer that's bigger than this year's attendance, I hope I'd question it. I hope I'd say, wait, I thought it was supposed to be smaller, or this year was supposed to be bigger. So this would be 176.99, so I'd say 177 students attended last year's dance then. Okay. And then our last one, and I'll give you guys home with you. It says after an injury, Brian hits for the season went down 15%. It's supposed to be like not just hits, like baseball hits. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. Went down 15%. If he had 80 hits this year, how many did he have last year? So they went down. So the 15%, how am I going to think about that?
So we subtract.
You subtract it from 100. So he is batting at 85% of what he did in previous years. So that kind of helping you, maybe this will kind of trying to help Clayton to set this up and maybe the rest of you guys as well. If 85 is on the top and 100 on the bottom, if he went down this year, where should the 80 go then? He went down, so 80 should be smaller than the number on the bottom. So the 80 should be on the top. He should be going down. So the fractions, the idea of proportions is the number on top, if it's bigger, it's going to be bigger in both fractions if we're setting up a proportion. So 85x equals 8,000, and we'll figure out Brian's hits for last year, which should be a bigger number.
Yeah, 94.
Yeah, it's like 94 hits. Okay. Questions there? Okay, so I'm going to give you guys time to work. We have about 20 minutes, kind of a big chunk of time, but The test review is not especially short. I basically have you guys doing the odds for the whole thing. I'm sorry, I guess the picture I took is not super clear. If you can't read something, let me know. I'm looking at it now and it's a little bit blurry.
That's why I say open lawsuit should be.
I can't hold myself up. You're welcome.
Oh, it's only that side.
Yeah, it's not like a statement, but it's like you're doing the odds the whole way through, so. Yeah, so let me know if you can't read something. I think they're all okay. You have to squint.